shot to perfect his three-point shot. So obviously, math is very connected to the NBA and basketball in general. Maybe not like, players might not be directly thinking about, mathematical equations and stuff like that when they're on the court. But if we think about it, math has a lot to do with, the shot and all these kind of things have to do with the NBA. And if you ever looked at the media day things, they usually, from what I remember, do these, like those back to school boards. They kind of do those things. And one of the things that I've seen a bunch is, what is your favorite subject? And from my memory, a lot of the NBA players said math, and it makes sense, right? So I'm going to talk about how math, I know it's not everyone's favorite subject, but how math and how parabolas and stuff like that actually could have perfected Steph Curry's three-point shot and other players' three-point shots. So I actually saw another creator, I think his username was like Faze, F-A-Z or something like that, on TT. Randomly the video popped up and they were talking about parabolas and stuff like that and how it correlates to shots in the NBA. So I'm going to take what he said and take it one step further. So let's go to math first. Let's explain. What is a parabola? What is a quadratic formula? All those kind of things. So a parabola is like a U-shaped image, I guess, if you want to say. So a parabola will go this way, like a rainbow. That's technically, I guess, upside down, an upside down parabola. But we'll go like a rainbow if A is negative, which is obviously how it is, the arc of an NBA shot is like a rainbow, a negative A value. Oh, I don't think I said the formula first, sorry. So that'll make more sense. So the formula for a quadratic equation for a parabola is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So now we got that out of the way, back to A. A is going to determine how like skinny or large a parabola is. Like it could be a really like thin U shape, or it could be like a thick U shape. So A is going to control that. In addition, A is going to control whether it's a U shape or, like I said earlier, like a rainbow shape, like the arc of a shot. And so in the NBA players, cases, it's going to be, A is going to be negative, which means the rainbow shape U. So that's how you get the rainbow shape U parabola. Then B is the slope. So A can't be 0, because if A was 0, it's just a straight line. So let's just say A was 0 for a second. That would mean that if you move B around, the line would just like change directions, basically. You know what I'm saying? Like it would go maybe sideways, or like it's just like moving like that, right? So if A is 0, it's just a line. So that's why A can't be 0. And then C represents pretty much the y-intercept, and C will make the parabola go up and down, like move up and down, basically. And so that's what, the quadratic formula, those are the parts, and that's how a parabola is made, right? Okay. So now that we did that, so that is how a parabola is made. So now going back to the whole picture, like I said, an upside down parabola, I guess I think that's upside down, is the arc of a shot, because the arc of a shot goes like this, like a rainbow, right? So NBA players are not sitting there on the court, calculating like, oh, if I just shoot this at a 2-degree higher angle, right, then the shot's going to go in, right? Like, they're not calculating that on the court, because that would be that would be insane if some of them are, right? That would be quite the analytics. But take that for data. If you know, you know the joke. So anyway, so NBA players are not sitting on the court, calculating this one by one. Like, that's just unrealistic. However, you can use math and the parabola again to kind of calculate, in a way, how to get the trajectory of your shot to go in. So like I was saying, A is going to determine whether or not the U shape is like a skinny U or like, a larger U. And so if A is going to be a skinnier U, right, your shot is going to go like this, right? Like, it's going to go up really fast and down really fast, right? Like, it's going to be like, like that. Whereas if A is, larger, like more like a rainbow shape, then your shot is going to have like a full range of motion. I'm trying to explain this best I can. So when you watch NBA players' shots, again, not that they're specifically calculating, how to, change their arc and stuff like that, but if you think of a parabola, you can notice whose mathematical parabola in their arc is more of like a skinny U and more of like a wide U. And obviously the further away you get from the basket, it has to be a little bit wider because you have to be able to reach the basket, at a certain point, right? But I say all that to say, math, again, I know it's not everyone's favorite subject, but math actually could be really useful for NBA players, potentially calculating their shot, but even for you, if you, have aspirations to go to the NBA or maybe play overseas or, get better, at the leagues, at the gyms and when you play for fun and all that kind of stuff. Because if you can figure out, again, not necessarily down to the scientific degrees, because I think that's a little difficult, but if you can figure out, in a way, the arc of the shot that gets you to have an efficient shot to make, to make it into the basket each time, give or take, it could help you become a better shooter. Because again, a parabola is the arc of a shot. The U shape, that's exactly what the shot looks like. And I'm sure NBA players, again, the data and the analytics that they're looking at and stuff like that, they're not looking at it from a math y equals ax, squared plus b. They're not looking at it from that standpoint. But I bet you their film and their video footage that they're watching, they're tracking some of those arcs and stuff like that, and they're probably noticing a pattern where, like, if they shoot their shot at a certain arc, it is either more likely to go in or less likely to go in, and they can figure out the mechanics based on like the feel, when it leaves their wrist. Giving you the little visual description. They can figure out how it feels leaving their wrist when they shoot it at a certain arc and how it feels when it leaves at a skinnier arc. And based on that, which is still technically math, but again, just not calculating to the degree, they can figure out which arc parabola actually gives them the best shot, because it's going to be different for each person. Because we know that some NBA players have a really high arc. Like, we know there's some players who have a high arc, right? Some players, like Kawhi, for example, his shot and I'm not even saying this in a bad way, but his shot is kind of flat. Like, compared to other players, he shoots kind of like a straight line drive there. And his shot goes in, he's efficient with it, and he knows how to shoot with a flatter arc. That is just his mechanics. That's how he shoots. But that wouldn't work for a lot of NBA players because, like, the arc helps with the angle, right? So it depends on the person. So I say all that to say, math is important to the NBA. You know, it could really help you, you know, determine what shot is best for you because there's going to be a lot of different factors. Your release point, your height, of course, is going to change your arc of your shot. Where you are on the court is going to change the arc of your shot, whether you're further away, closer, stuff like that. I don't know if your footwork would necessarily change the arc of your shot, but maybe like the placement of your feet, you know, would change the arc of your shot because obviously if your body is contorted in a certain direction, the arc is going to change. You know, I know not a lot, but I know that like certain players like to have their hands on a certain part of the ball to release. So like all those things can change the arc of your shot and can literally change whether the shot goes in or not. It all comes back to math, right? So that's funny. Somebody said, yes, indeed, math is so important. Math is important. You know, it comes up a lot of times everywhere, honestly, in life. Like, even if you don't think you're doing math, you're probably doing some form of math somewhere. You know, it just comes up, like, it just happens. And then quickly, I just want to talk about Josh Giddey. He got 4-year, $100 million. He got $100 million. I think it was 4-year though. So 4-year, $100 million is $25 per year. So the first restricted free agent, not the first one, but like of the 4 remaining that we keep talking about, finally got a deal done. Cam Thomas obviously took the qualifier. We haven't heard much from Philly and Quentin Grimes. And then Jonathan Kuminga, there's rumors, maybe the qualifying offer. We don't know what's going to happen there yet. But Josh Giddey, and I think if you go back and watch my live streams on it, I think Josh Giddey will end up coming to a deal with Chicago. I definitely said Cam Thomas will take the qualifier. That was a no-brainer to me. Jonathan Kuminga, I feel like that one's trickier, and I feel like it's been trickier. And I remember I said Quentin Grimes, no offense to him, had the least amount of leverage out of the 4 players. Well, I guess outside of Cam Thomas, but like had the least amount of leverage out of the 4 players because Philadelphia is still trying to win with Maxey and Embiid and Paul George, and they got BJ Edgecombe, who should be really good. Jared McCain's coming back, stuff like that. So, like, it's not that they don't want him, but, like, they aren't necessarily as desperate to pay him because, like, someone like a Chicago who, again, I said this on this channel, there was a report that came out that, like, everybody was on the table except for Josh Giddey and one other player, like, available for trade this summer. Like, they literally were like, we will not trade Josh Giddey. So that's why I also felt like a deal would get done, because if they valued Josh Giddey that much, obviously it made sense to me. They want to negotiate the numbers and not overpay. Fair enough. But, like, it just seemed like at some point they were going to come to a deal, because if you're literally saying that he's not available for trade for anybody, you got to pay him something, right? Because you're clearly saying you value him at some point. So the number reported was that he wanted $30 million per year. It ended up being 25. So, you know, I think that's fair. I think that's close enough. I think it was a good deal for both sides, to be honest. Again, they seem to be happy with Josh Giddey, and they want to continue to build with him. And then Josh Giddey gets paid. That's a nice bag. Like, $25 million is nothing to sneeze at. I think, again, we look at the NBA contracts nowadays, they just keep going up so fast. So we see players making like $70 million. 25 million is still 25 million. Like that is nothing to cry about, right? So I think it ended up being a good deal for both parties, and I think it was the right decision, I guess, for now. Best way I could say it. Because the other thing I was saying about it was there was like a little, I don't even know if it was like a big rumor or if it was true or not, but like I saw something about Jonathan Kuminga, or the Bulls being interested in Jonathan Kuminga or something like that, and then obviously it would be a swap between him and Josh Giddey. But to me, I was like, yeah, like that makes sense from Chicago's standpoint of like, yeah, Jonathan Kuminga is very talented. If you watch his page, you know, I think superstar potential written all over him. Fair enough, but like my thought process was like, him and Josh Giddey want the same money. So like, if you're not willing to pay Josh Giddey, are you willing to pay Jonathan Kuminga? Because you're gonna have the same situation. So to me, I'm like, I don't even know if that makes sense, because again, if you're not paying Josh Giddey, what are you gonna do with Jonathan Kuminga? Because you're gonna have the same issue. And so that's why I felt like in the end, Josh Giddey was probably gonna get paid. They were gonna work out a deal, and so they did. Someone said I want to give super chats. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Unfortunately, I am not qualified, I guess, yet on YouTube for super chats. They don't allow me yet. I have to grow a little more. But if you guys help me grow this channel and, subscribe and like the videos and comment and get my watch time, watch the videos and hope you enjoy them, of course, then you can absolutely give super chats, and I would really, really appreciate that. That's very kind of you, though. Obviously, I do these videos because I love making videos and I love talking to you guys and stuff like that. So like, I'm not like looking for super chats, of course, but hey, they're always greatly appreciated, of course, when I get to that point. Obviously I can't right now, but like and subscribe the channel and watch my videos and stuff like that, and then we can get to that point. We can chat more, and you could send super chats if you so desire. And yeah, I appreciate everything. I appreciate all you guys watching and enjoying the content. So that's what I do it for. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed.